Welcome to Promote Profit Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and I'm my own guest today. So if you want to jump off now, no, I'm just kidding. Please don't jump off now. I wanted to remind you before I get started here to run over to Amazon or your favorite distributor and buy a copy of our latest book, The Author's Success Handbook. This is a step-by-step guide to leveraging and building your platform. So for many of you, this is a really important book because you probably haven't built it in a way that really makes sense to bring on new audiences and also to sell products and services beyond the book. That book is a nurture tool, so you really need to drive traffic there first before you sell your bigger ticket items. So I'm going to talk about another new book today. This was a passion project. I don't know how many of you guys live in an area that snows, but we had an extraordinary winter. It literally ended like the end of April, and in Utah, it was the end of April, usually ends up like the end of February with a few snows in between on March, but this was really, really long this year. So I had a lot of time to think about projects that I wanted to do since I hate snow. So I actually put together a passion project that I've been really wanting to do for a long time. It's a book called Author Alchemy, and it's actually a journal. And this is a journal from sort of my days when I was in real estate. I had a coach with one of the big coaching organizations who encouraged me to do some exercises, especially towards the end of my real estate career when I was going through a divorce. I think I was really a Debbie Downer on the coaching calls because there was so much drama and so much was getting in the way. But I learned a lot from these exercises, and I wanted to share them with authors as well. So the story about this is a little bit about real estate, but when I started putting these exercises together, I was going through a really, really ugly divorce. I was writing a book, and I was working in real estate in the foreclosure market. If you remember, 2007, 2008, 2009 got really, really bad. Now, working a real estate market in a foreclosure market is you're working, which is a good thing because a lot of realtors weren't, and they were actually losing their houses and their cars and, assets like that because they had gotten used to a lifestyle from the housing boom. And that's always the danger when you are not a seasoned agent and don't realize that there are really great ups and really low downs in the real estate world. So I was having a tough time. There was a lot of anger from my own personal issues, but there was also a lot of anger from my job. So imagine that I knock on your door and I tell you, you have 3 weeks to get out, and here's your offer, what we'll pay you to get out. For many of those people, they were really angry. Some of them had really tragic life circumstances that were causing them to lose their home. So I got up to go to work every day, and I got yelled at. And I usually had about 8 to 10 foreclosures at any one time. So there were a lot of angry people in my world. And those didn't even include the people that we had to take to court and evict. So I was in and out of court as well, not just for real estate, for my divorce as well. So you can imagine that I was exhausted. I wasn't finding much good going on in the world. And I was also trying to write a mystery novel. So it was a really, really tough time. So as part of that, I started doing these exercises, and they were what was called a 10-10. So I had to every day write what were the 10 things I was really grateful for, and what were the 10 things I wanted to manifest. And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, for those of you who've done something like this before, I had a really hard time finding 10 things I was grateful for. As a matter of fact, I had a really hard time doing the one thing that I was grateful for. So, it was great as this coach was coaching me through this. I realized that the very first thing I was grateful for is in a really down market when other realtors were not working, they were not making money. I was making money, and lots of it. And so that was my first grateful point. And once I got that going and was able to put those 10 things into alignment, then I really started manifesting. And I would write down those 10 manifesting goals as well. But I found that a lot of them were way too big. I wasn't able, I finished the book, I published my first book, but the platform building that I was trying to manifest, there were a lot of really big things that I had to learn. And even though I had a marketing background from my ad days, and I still found that marketing, while the core of marketing hadn't changed, the things that you use. So back when I was in advertising, we didn't have social media. I had to learn how to utilize social media. We didn't produce content. I had to learn to produce content. I had to learn an email list. I actually remember my first email drip campaign. It was awful. My coach Desiree had me write it, and it was just pathetic. Like, I couldn't figure out how to do it. I was looking at what other people were doing. But I realized, as a part of all of this exercise, that if I broke down those manifestations and said, okay, this month I'm going to just do this one thing. I'm going to learn how to do this one area. And then I started breaking those manifestations down into learnings, that as I started doing that, I was able to really break it down and start manifesting the things that I wanted to manifest. The other thing that happened as part of this is that as you start manifesting and you're taking those things off of the 10-10, off of the list, you'll find that you get really super stoked about it as well. And that makes you more grateful, and that makes you manifest more and, do those things that you've manifested. So it really does become this giant snowball that happens. But here's the other thing that happened as part of that as well, is when you think about it in your own life, anytime you decide to take a big chunk of something and you go to God or universe or spirit or whoever it is for you that's your higher power, and you say, hey, I want to write this book. The universe is going to say to you, oh yeah, you got the talent. Let's do this. But then as you get into it, the universe is kind of come back and go, yeah, you're doing it. You're doing it really well. By the way, I'm kind of giving you this power and I need something from you. And that usually requires an up level on your part. And an up level can be as simple as changing the way you're thinking, getting rid of a pattern. And I noticed that the more grateful that I got, the more I started interacting with people different, and it brought up sort of some dysfunctional patterns. And I when I talk to my authors, they all tell me the same thing, that they all have this come up as well. So having this journal and going through this journey can really be a way to identify those patterns, because once you become aware of them, as you probably know from your own life, if you don't address them, they keep coming up and coming up. And it seems like every time they come up, they get worse. And the worse they get, what it's doing is it's pushing you towards sort of a rock bottom with it. Just like an addict has a rock bottom, you can have a rock bottom with patterns and emotions and feelings, and where you say, you know what, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. And the wonderful thing about that is, as those patterns came up and I tried to figure out ways to, first of all, ignore them. Okay, I'm aware, but I don't want to do anything, la, 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 la. And then it would come back again. So as you become aware of those patterns and this grateful and manifesting, you can add that in as well. And also journal about those feelings, because you'll notice as you change that it affects other people. The people on the other end of that pattern. Those people on the other end of that pattern are used to doing particular things and you reacting in a particular way. And a lot of times when you don't react in your normal way, that's become patternized, I don't even know if that's a word, they start becoming angry. So they might push back. Oh, you did it in the past. Oh, I'll just keep pushing because she always says yes. So you're going to notice some changes there. That's what the universe is looking for in an up level, is not for you just to write this book, but for you to grow. And you can't grow without changes in a particular area. So all of this came together. Like I said, this is a passion project. I noticed as I went along that not only was I grateful for a lot of things, but I took it to a higher level. Something would happen, an obstacle would get thrown in my way for business, and I would actually stop and say, that's interesting. Well, universe, thank you for that obstacle, and then figure out how to get around it or what I was going to do to heal whatever it is that needed to be healed at that time. So you'll really start to notice and become more attached to yourself. Part of my journey of that was I actually started out to be more of a corporate brand, and I found I was hiding. And one of the best things that happened as part of all this was I actually had a coach. And the coach, she said something to me that was really rude. I pointed out that something that she was teaching wasn't really working for me. And she actually turned it around on me and told me it was because I didn't like my clients. And for those of you who know me, I love my clients. Many of them have become lifelong friends. I just adore them, probably because they're very like-minded in the way that they're always growing and stretching and doing new things, which that's a part of me too. And we always tend to sort of gravitate towards those people who are like-minded. But I remember the day she said that to me. I was still a corporate brand. I was hiding behind a corporate image, a corporate logo. I didn't really get out and do the content the way I should have. I was the face of the business, but I wasn't embracing that I was the face of the business. And it was so interesting because I'd had this journey and I'd moved along through it for probably about 5 years at that point. Still doing the journaling every day, still doing the 10-10, the gratitude practice. And all of a sudden, I got this idea when she said that. I was angry and I called 2 or 3 of friends, branding person. And I said, when you see me, what do you see? When you see my business, what do you see? And those people gave me really great feedback, enough feedback that I actually said to my branding person, who was also my copywriter, we're changing the face of this business. I am now the face of this business. I am ready to come out of the unscheduled face closet, whatever it was that I was doing. I'm ready to come out of that and make sure that I'm the face of this business from now on. And so we rewrote, we redid everything. And that was really a turning point inside of my company, is now I could acknowledge that I was the one with the ideas. I was the reason people came to the company. I was the reason that things were happening. And you can't imagine how empowering that is to really step into that. So the name of the book, once again, is Author Alchemy. It is full of inspirational writing and publishing and just doing kind of posts. It's inspiration. It's really getting that daily practice in place that will help you really embrace not only how you're going to build something, but to be grateful for the obstacles that you hit in it. If you've ever put a funnel together or done marketing that doesn't work, you really have to go back and do an evaluation. Sometimes that's painful. I've even had it happen to the point where I had a webinar series in 2016. Nobody stayed until the end. So I really had to evaluate what I was doing, how I was doing it. Was there enough of it in me that it was authentic? And you guys, I'm going to tell you, this process of working these is really going to make you come across in everything more authentically. So the book is coming out September 26th. It's called Author Alchemy. I hope you'll grab it. It is a hardcover journal. So, a little bit thicker pages. You can write in it. The pen won't go through to the other side. And I'm hoping that you will embrace your authenticity and use this as your journey as well. Thank you. See you next week.